Some of you may not know, but we have already ordered 150 new body cameras for all of our deputies. We're one of the last in this region, and we're typically one of the first. We have car cameras that we have had in our cars for an excess of 25 years. The deputies love the cameras, but the maintenance of those cameras has become prohibitively expensive because the technology is outdated. And some of the things that come with the cameras, the body-worn cameras, are a paralegal, a Commonwealth attorney, a lot of extras in order to capture all that data that is actually on the deputies as it goes up to the cloud. And then we need to have the ability to retrieve that information, which we need for court documents when it needs to be used. So that just gives you a little summary. We've increased $250,000 to all of our partner agencies that we really like supporting in this region, and there's a long list of those. One of the reasons I wanted to give the teachers the $8 million is because we have 50% of our teachers right now that have less than 5 years of experience in our school division. So we have a lot of competing needs. I feel like we've worked really hard as a board to get here. We would all love to be at 88 cents, but when you look at the cost of inflation right now and the assessed values of all the homes, I found that very difficult to do.
It was rough. I'm telling you, I think I spent more time with Andrea than I did my wife, because every time I turn around, I say, hey, what can we do? What can we do to cut this, get it right? Hey, I pay taxes just like you do, and I don't want to have to pay like astronomical amount of taxes for anybody, and that's why I'm at 85 cents with that. I think we did the best job that we could, and I think that we all worked together to try to get where we are. I'm glad to see Hartwood Elementary Schools, we've moved that to the top of the list, because I am, again, you don't know how much I want Hartwood Elementary School to be rebuilt and done, because it's a shame that we have a school, just like y'all have said before, to be as rich as county as we have and to have a school on well and septic. It's unacceptable to me, and I'm going to do my best to see that happens in 2023.
I'm not going to support 85 cents, and I'm going to tell you why. Brief comments. The year-over-year budget to match what we had last year was 83 cents is what we need to be at. So essentially, you're going to get the same services with an extra maybe $4 million that 85 will get you. And literally, Stafford County doesn't have the needs being met that ought to be met. You see what the roads look like. You see what the labor market looks like. The amenities, all that's lacking. So for me, an extra $4 million isn't going to get us there. Or not even giving the school the extra $3 million. So I'm not going to be in support of the 85.
I mean, we cut $1.3 million out of purchases. We looked at, and I thank staff for doing this, because that's usually my bailiwick, is say, when would this person that's in the budget to be hired actually be working? And one of the positions, really, when staff went back and asked, they won't be doing anything until not this July, but a year from July. So then the question behooves us, why are you funding somebody in a position that's going to do nothing for a year? And so that's what we did, was we went through to see what was feasible and sensible that we could, so that if we went up to 85, that people would know that we did our due diligence. And poor Ms. Light can testify how many times that several of us have nagged her and met with her and browbeat her with this. I don't think anybody on this board got what they wanted. I have been pressing for relief for the senior citizens, and it's not in there. That's not to say that the members of this board don't care about senior citizens. They do, but everybody has different priorities and different wants. And so I'm going to keep fighting for that, but I acknowledge the fact that I'm not the one that runs everything. You know, this is not the world of Cohen.
The average tax increase at 85 cents is approximately $250 per home. Of course, that's going to be variant based on your assessment and the size of your home, but that is the average increase that 85 cents means to most constituents in Stafford County versus a $95 per car increase. At 88.5 cents, it would have been over $500, and in some cases, over $1,200 per constituent. So the board really came together and slashed this budget to try to figure out how we could save that. We cut over $12 million out of the proposed budget by doing all of this stuff. And I just want to point out a few facts, because in the public hearings, we heard a couple of things that were inaccurate. First and foremost, the investment in roads. This board over the last couple of years has invested over $141 million in road infrastructure. Unfortunately, road infrastructure takes a long time to happen. So a lot of these road improvements will happen in 2 years, 3 years, and sometimes outwards of 10 years. But the county is committed with the state and federal government funds of up to $141 million to improve transportation in Stafford County. We've also, over the last 3 years, invested annually above the year that we did before, over $21.6 million in educator and service staff pay for Stafford County Public Schools, and at least $20 to $30 million in public safety with the implementation of the pay scale, a lot of the apparatus that we've bought, a lot of the fire stations that we've been able to move up, which include Aquia and Rock Hill, in addition to the pay raises and the body cameras for the sheriff's office, and a lot of the capital needs that they also need. Unfortunately, the state has failed us. A lot of people talk about how in Stafford County we have some of the highest salaries, the highest income levels. Unfortunately, at a local government level, we don't see a penny of your state income taxes. The state does. But yet we have some of the lowest cost to compete numbers from the state to provide to education, which is absolutely unfathomable. We also only get revenue from meals tax, personal property, and real estate taxes. We have very limited revenue streams to be able to accept taxes from a locality to pay our teachers, to pay our firefighters, to pay our first responders and our police officers. And the state continuously pushes down unfunded mandates, which include 2 pieces of proffer legislation that in 2014 and 2016 essentially restrict, as Supervisor Gary spoke to earlier, our ability as a locality to hold developers accountable and to make development pay for itself. We used to be able to accept $20 million to build a new school. We can't do that anymore. So this is a problem, and you guys are coming to us asking us to fund these. We need your help to go to the state to change these proffer laws, because on social media, everybody I talk to says, why don't you make the developers pay when they build these new houses? The other piece of legislation that passed essentially allows subdivisions, if you are a developer and you want to build 50 houses or less, you can do that by right. It restricts our ability to have a public hearing. It restricts our ability to have a site plan review, and it restricts our ability to accept $1 in proffer funds. So I asked our planning and zoning staff to just put together some rough numbers just over the last couple of years. We had 334 houses built in the rural parts of the community, and I'll have you know that's where we need all the road improvements and the new schools, that circumvented the county by putting one 50-house subdivision right here and the other 50-house subdivision right here. They put a through road, and they had 100 houses for $0, and I'm sure hundreds of kids added to Stafford County schools. So I did the quick math. I asked our planning director, what's the average that we would charge a builder back before these laws passed in 2016 to be able to build that? He said about $40,000 to offset the impacts to education, public safety, and road infrastructure. That total came to $13.36 million just on those 334 houses. So I did another calculation, and I put together the houses that were built just in the last few years since 2016, all by right using this ridiculous state code that allows 50 houses or less to be built. That was 1,093. So I did the same proffer calculation. The county lost $43,720,000. That totals, just on those 2 calculations alone, this isn't even equating to any of the rezonings, which I've always voted against, that the board has supported in the past, no harm to them. The loss of funds that we've been able to provide on proffers there because of our handcuffs on being able to ask developers to offset the impacts of their developments. That total comes to $57,080,000. So this board is now forced, and I'm not holding it against my colleagues, I'm voting against it because I don't think it's right that the state could pass these laws and then shift this cost back to the taxpayers. I'm more advocating on getting this fixed. And we have a state senator who supported both of these pieces of legislation, Senator Bryce Reeves. And this is a $57 million tax increase on Stafford residents, and I would like to hashtag it the Bryce Reeves tax increase.